Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. My name is Ben Sadegapur. Most of you know me as Nahamsek. I also have our producer, aka Nicole, here today.
On stage today.
For those of you who don't know Nicole, when you hear me say our producer in my ear or the person that's doing all the giveaway, it's always Nicole. She's the person making it happen. Grandpa Ari couldn't make it today. He is on a beach somewhere enjoying his day off, being old and creating more memories. So if you're watching this, Ari, we love you. We miss you. Hopefully we get to see you live next week.
Yeah, I think we might.
All right, Nicole, what's going on today? Who are our guests? What's the topic?
Yeah, so today we're talking about industry certifications. So we've got two amazing guests, and why don't we add them in and let them intro themselves? We've got John Hammond and our very own Busra from HackerOne.
Hello.
Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for letting us come crash the party here.
Thanks for joining us.
John,
let's go ahead and do a round of quick intros. John, I think most people probably know who you are. You've been all around the place recently, but give us your best intro. Who are you?
Sure
what do you
thing.
do? And how long you've been doing it?
Yeah. Well, hello. Thank you. My name is John Hammond. For the day job, the stuff that pays the bills, I work at a cybersecurity vendor for managed defense and threat detection. That's a lot of fun. But on the side, I like to create content on YouTube for cybersecurity stuff, whether it's penetration testing, tactics, vulnerabilities, and exploits, and stuff that goes into bug bounty, etc. It's really just all the stuff that I'm passionate about and love to nerd out with.
How about you, Busra?
Hey everyone, I'm Busra, aka RE100. I'm a content creator, offensive security researcher. I'm hunting for any certification out there, and I'm not a bug bounty hunter because I'm working at HackerOne and I'm a technical person. This question comes a lot, like, you're working at HackerOne and you're technical, how come you're not doing bug bounty? So I have a path for myself. I'm doing reverse engineering and I'm trying to find my first 0 day on Windows kernel. So that's the time that I'm basically spending on my time instead of bug bounty. But who knows? Maybe I will sleep 2 hours less every day to do bug bounty because it's really pushing me working at HackerOne and seeing all the bug bounty.
Oh, I can't wait to see your O-Day. This is it's cool that you have, this goal in mind and you're determined to make it happen. So it's amazing to hear that.
So John, how did you get into security? How did that all start?
Ooh, well, I guess it's a little bit of a long story, but I'll try and speed run it and go quick. I grew up, kind of like any kiddo that was like, hey, I want to make video games or I want to be a hacker, some of the pie in the sky ideas. And I guess I got lucky. I found, some online blogs or some articles or some videos that said how to be a hacker. And that was like, oh, go learn a programming language, go learn Python or something. So I started with building stuff and creating things, but then fell into more of like the, government and military side. And they care much more about the security of stuff. Like, hey, not only can you make things, but can you break things? And that was, I guess, how I fell into it. It was a lot of fun.
What about you, Busra?
So my story is pretty funny. I was in double major back in college with math and computer engineering. And I was applying for PhDs. It was an American college. All my friends moved to US. I was just applying for PhDs. And I was going to be a software developer because of the curriculum of the courses that I got. And I was just thinking, that's my life. And it was not really making me excited. And then I was doing an internship before I graduated at a bank, and I met a hacker. And he was spending his lunch breaks reversing some binaries and writing some assembly code. And I was just so amazed. I was just asking him if I can watch his code and what is he doing out there. And I realized that's my passion. I just want to be a hacker and I will learn everything. So I think that's the feeling we all get when we first get into the industry. So that's how I get into it.
So you went to school, kind of similar route. What about you, John? Did you go to school for computer science or security?
Yeah. So I went to one of the military institutions over in the United States, and that was they truthfully didn't have a whole lot of a curriculum for strictly cybersecurity or even computer science. So I had studied electrical engineering, but then would kind of want to pursue, that cybersecurity stuff off on the side because it was fun, it was interesting, it was super cool. And that's really, I guess, the closest I could get in the formal education perspective. But not strictly, hey, studying computer science or cybersecurity in my undergrad.
Would you say school is the way you guys both learn the basics, or how'd you guys get into the basics of hacking and security? How'd you learn those stuff? Let's start with you, Busra.
Sure. So I don't think that I learned much from school because I don't use any knowledge that I learned there. I think my journey started with certifications. I know that this is a topic we will get into it already, but after I graduated, I started working at a consultancy, and I was learning about web hacking. And since I'm a girl and I'm coming from Turkey, and it was kind of a bully situation because there were so many men, and I was only the only girl in the team, and they were thinking, "You're a girl, you're not going to be a hacker, you're not going to be as good as us." And I literally got bullied like this. And of course, I'm like, I have to prove myself in the background somehow. And I said, okay, I have to go through a path. So I just think like there are two paths I think that are really visible for you to get recognized in the industry. One of them is bug bounty. You can be a really known hacker in this way. You can find really cool bugs, and also you can develop your skills and you can learn a ton. Or you can go through a certification path, which is definitely not equivalent, but a way for you to learn a ton, I think. And yeah, I just started preparing for OSCP, and I couldn't stop myself from getting the rest. I know that John, you have like crazy amount of certifications, but yeah, that's how I just started. Let's say.
John, let's kick it off to you. What about you?
Oh, you were asking, hey, was school where you kind of got your footing in cybersecurity? Is that what the guy was?
Yeah, I mean, how did you learn the basics? Was it, was school the way you learned the basics, or was it, other things that you did on your own? Was it like self-taught? How was it?
Yeah, truthfully, and I know sometimes it's kind of a hard thing to hear, but honestly, no, it wasn't school that, hey, I guess got me in motion. Folks that have kind of listened to me or seen me around before know that I am a huge advocate for a lot of online and like hands-on learning, like practical application-based stuff. And sort of my mantra is, hey, capture the flag is one of the best ways to do that, because that it makes learning cybersecurity and hacking and bug bounty and pen testing and all this stuff into a game, into an activity, and into a puzzle. But I always sound like a broken record when I start kind of pitching a lot of capture the flag and CTF stuff. So
would you say CTF is a good place to start?
I absolutely would. That's where really I guess I got my chops. I cut my teeth on CTFs, and truthfully, that was at school. Like while I was in my undergrad and going for my education, I thought, hey, I'm having more fun and I'm really enjoying a lot more learning that I get from these online games, right? For fake internet points. But it was just something really enjoyable, and I felt like I was learning a lot, and I was getting better at programming, getting better at writing scripts or tools for detecting vulnerabilities and stuff. And I would absolutely say that's one great place to start.
Okay, shameless plug. If you're watching this, we did an entire episode on like CTF and bug bounties. I mean, it was mostly geared towards how you can transit CTF knowledge and experience to bug bounties, but it went beyond that a little bit too. With Niru, who's a staff security engineer at Google, and also Adam Langley, who's our CTF designer at HackerOne and Hacker 101. So if you're watching this, either it's right now live, or if you're watching this VOD later on, head over to our YouTube channel and check out the CTF episode that we did last season. And we just posted on Instagram too. So if you want to get a snippet of it, go to our Instagram account. You can watch a little quick snippet before you watch it on YouTube.
All right, so we'll start with Busra. What certifications, security certifications do you hold, or maybe your top 3, your favorite?
So I started with CH. That was not correct when I say OSCP actually, because the consultancy that I was working at in the beginning, my boss pushed me to get CH, which was a theoretical certification, I would say, but it was a nice ground for me to learn the basics. Then I got OSCP. It was a crazy period of time that I spent when I was preparing for OSCP. I think I spent like 6 months or something, and I dedicated myself to it so much that I said I will not get any help from anyone else. I just learned everything myself, and Google was my only friend. So I like spent 6 months or something, and I passed the exam in 13 hours without moving from my desk. It was crazy. But yeah, I think it was one of my favorite certifications because it was beginner friendly. Then I got OSWP, which was kind of outdated. I didn't enjoy it so much, but it was also kind of nice to learn the basics. Then I got OSCE from Offensive Security, which started my exploit development journey, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's still outdated because it's basically some basic exploitation techniques that you can learn in userland. But there are a lot of techniques out there, and the things that you're learning in OSCE is generally not applicable to the current topics or current technologies. So it's outdated, but that's the nice thing about offensive security. It gives you basically an understanding of the vulnerabilities or the topic in general, and it basically allows you to learn the rest yourself. So I like this mentality. It's kind of challenging. So OSCE was my second favorite certification, I would say. I also gathered some certifications from Pentester Academy, SLA 32 and 64-bit courses. That was also kind of cool. What else? And I'm preparing for OSCE now. Hopefully, my last certification on advanced Windows exploitation. I think I'm kind of ready, but it's not an online exam. It's a 72-hour brutal exam that I'm preparing for. It's only happening in some of the events. So yeah, I have to just find a nice time to attend to it.
Oh, that's amazing. John, what about you?
Oh no, are you really making me like go through them all?
Give us your top 3 to 5.
Oh goodness. Okay. So I always am hesitant, chatting about, hey, certification stuff, because I feel like a jerk, like a braggadocio. There's a joke, hey, I have way too many certifications, which is true. I'm in the like a dozen or a baker's dozen number, which is probably a bad thing. So no, some of my favorites, some of the top ones, ECPPT, OSCP, of course, OSEP, their experience penetration tester from offensive security, PNPT, one of the stuff from TCM.
Yeah.
What else is there? Security Plus, right? Some of the come to you love. And if I were to kick in another one for a fifth, I think Python. Oh, there's a PCAP one for Python certificate programming. So
yeah. It's awesome. You both mentioned a lot of the offensive security stuff. You both are, very involved with offensive security. I think it's one of the industry standards. I know CH is one that's out there. It's theoretical. There's two sides to getting CEH. Some people are very against it. Some people are very for it. We won't touch that topic this time around. But what about other big organizations? Are there any that you recommend? Like I know SANS has some really good stuff. Are there any organizations like offensive security that you recommend that you said CompTIA is one of them, John? What are some other big orgs that you guys both recommend for people to look into their certifications and going beyond offensive security? John, let's go with you since you're already on mute.
Cool. Yeah. So I'm glad you mentioned SANS. I really, really love and like the work that SANS does. They are well known for like, hey, top tier training, great in a classroom learning environment. And their certifications work through with GIAC or GIAC, and they'll have things like GPEN or GIAC penetration testing or GForensics, etc. I'll have to admit, I have taken SANS courses and then did not end up going through with the certification exam because it was years ago, I guess, kind of in my own career and development. But I am a big fan of those. I really like some of the learning that comes from it. Another one to mention is ISC squared, ISC, and then a 2 at the top, right? They, I know, are very well known for their CISSP or the CISP, which is more of a managerial. And I guess in my mind, again, truth be told, I don't have a CISP. I don't know if I would like one because it puts you into more of a organizational structure, leadership-y perspective, which is a great thing if that's what you're interested in. But if you want to stay on keyboard, you want to be an operator, go hacking some stuff, maybe it's not the best one for you. Really, really cool to kind of see where they all fit in their bucket, in their place, because all of them do have a place.
I like that. Okay, Busra, how about you?
Right. So besides offensive security, I don't have so many other certifications from different organizations. I have 2 of them from Pentester Academy. I think Vivek is doing an amazing job there, so I would definitely recommend. His content is amazing. I know that my friends are getting certifications from eLearn Security, and it's also very good content out there, so I would definitely recommend this as well. But yeah, I'm an offensive security person. I like their certification a lot. I like the way that they are teaching, basically showing the beginning of it, and you're basically finding your way out. So yeah.
Yeah, I see someone in the chat also mentioning EJPT, as you mentioned, eLearn Security. There's a question in the chat that I would like to just ask right now. John, you work with a lot of federal side of things. are there any certifications that are required or preferred when it comes to working with these federal agencies?
Yeah, thank you for asking. And again, I realize this is kind of specific to the U.S., and that's just where I have my perspective in. There are, truthfully, I believe, some standards, and I've been away from that scene for a little bit, so I might have the names and numbers wrong. But what was DoD 8570, I think now has switched to DoD 8140. Again, might be totally wrong in those numbers, but those are, hey, a breakdown of what certifications and what markings, right, will tell you that you are this level of personnel. There's, I believe, IAM and IAT, and again, might be wrong on that. I know that I needed, for my first job in the industry, I needed to be IAT, like I think information assurance technologist or something. I need to be level 2, which I was able to accomplish with Security Plus. And I think it is a really good thing to note, though, if it's all right for me to just tack this on. My employer was willing to bring me in and under the guise like, hey, John, we need you to get this certification within the first 6 months of your employment. So even if you don't have, hey, I'm not checking all the boxes just yet for a new opportunity that I really, really want. If, hey, you've got a really great potential employer, they'll be understanding and honest about the fact like, hey, no worries, totally cool. We'll help you and support you, but you need to make sure that you get this as soon as you can. So.
Very cool. Yeah, it's I think it's every government is different, but given that you know the federal space in the U.S. is huge. You know, there's a ton of jobs. I mean, clearance is already hard enough to get, but if you do get your clearance and you have some of the certifications, I think you'll be ahead of the game with especially getting hired and getting your foot into the door.
So how do you pick which certifications are the ones that are right for you? Obviously, like John mentioned, you know, the employer kind of pushed one of them, but how do you decide? There's so many. Busra, why don't you go first?
Sure. So I started with OSCP, and after getting OSCP, I just wanted to get all of it. And back then, there was not so many of them. I think there was OSWP, OSCE, and OSCE. So I was thinking, okay, I'm going to just finalize all of these and I will get it all. And then Offensive Security decided to create many, many more certifications. So I said, okay, I will just find an expertise area for me that I really like, and I will continue on that. And then I got OSCE, and it's basically the introduction to exploit developments. And after that, I just continued learning the other topics in the background that will support OSCE preparation, which does. And yeah, hopefully I'm planning to get it in the next year or so.
That's awesome. What about you, John?
I share the kind of the same mentality with Booster. It's like, hey, once you try one, you had a little bit of fun with it, and it's like, man, now it's like Pokemon. I got to catch them all. There's a lot of truth to that, just because it's enjoyable when, hey, you have this challenge, you have some hands-on stuff to kind of prove yourself with. But for choosing a certification that you want to go after, honestly, it just boils down to, hey, what are you interested in? Like, what do you like? What do you have fun with? And maybe that varies for different stages of your career. Again, if you know, hey, I want to get a foot in the door for a potential employer, you want something that might lean more towards the work that you'll be doing at that job in that position. And again, maybe if you're just kind of growing yourself to get more experience and have a wider background in other fields and other subjects, right? Then cool. You might go explore the binary exploitation stuff, even if your job is being a web developer. When, hey, you know, you still could be taking some of the web application security stuff so you can be better at the development that you're doing. Go for the stuff that you're interested in if that's applicable to you, or maybe lean towards the stuff that you know will really, really help your own career and occupation.
Yeah, that's really good advice. So we have a question from the chat that I want to touch. So Incognito Frog has asked, what certification you guys recommend for someone who's just gotten out of high school, or something that would be an HR bypass?
It's a good segue to this question too, with what you just said, John.
Yeah, it's like he knew.
Let's
John,
go
you
with you, John. Yeah, since
Okay.
you were touching on this topic a little bit, go for it.
We were I think dancing with the EJPT acronym already, right? So that's eLearn Security is a junior penetration tester. Very, very approachable, very, very welcoming. Even though I think the material for that is free online. I don't know if that's changed, but the exam itself and the course, the certification process is, I think, maybe $200. So hopefully affordable. But that one is very, very good at holding your hand and guiding you through, hey, you want to learn some of these offensive techniques, right? For penetration testing, bug bounty, etc. But in a environment that is a little bit closer to real world, and that, hey, you're going to be pivoting through one machine into the next to get into an internal network to then look at new services available inside. And that is really kind of fun, really enjoyable, because it's not just relying on, some off-the-shelf exploit you might find out on the internet, but just having a finer understanding of, this server runs PHP. Maybe I can do something with that language to kind of take advantage of something that happens in the code. And it gives you a little bit more critical thinking than, hey, let's go pull something off the shelf to fire away at it. Would really, really, really recommend EJPT if you're kind of at the stage, hey, I'm getting out of high school. What can I do to show my merit and prove that competency to a potential employer?
By you, Busra, what do you recommend?
I totally agree with John. But if you already graduated from college, or if you're in college, and if you can afford it, I would say OSCP. After high school, definitely. I agree with you, John. But OSCP gives you a lot of context about web security, infrastructure, because they also included different content now with the updated content. So it also looks really good on the CV. So I would suggest, if you just graduated from college, for OSCP, but if you graduated from high school, definitely makes sense starting with the e-learn security.
I'm going to pull an Ari, and Ari likes to do this. Like, I'm going to go off the script and ask a question. But it's a question that came into the chat. I think it's one of my favorite things to ask on my stream usually, is like, do you need a certification to succeed in this field? Is it a requirement? I know there is, HR-wise, if you don't have a lot of experience, maybe has a little bit of an effect on the hiring process. But to be successful, Busra, let's kick it off with you. What do you think? Do you need to have certifications?
Sure. So like I said, I'm originally from Turkey, and there were not so many women back then. I started like 8 years ago. I'm not that old, but back then I was not like, I was unique basically, because there were not so many women out there. So it was important for me to somehow get recognized and prove myself. So certification was a great way. It's definitely not the only way. You can definitely prove yourself by just learning and maybe starting bug bounty, trying to show that you know some stuff. But I would definitely suggest, if you want to show your CV, and maybe you're in a country that education or the certification is really important and you need to be recognized. Yeah, in my case, it worked, for instance. So I think it definitely depends on the logistics and also the current conditions.
I love that. Okay. I like that. John, what about you?
Yeah, thank you. This is a really good question, and comes up all the time, and it's a hard one to answer, because the answer is confusing, and has a whole lot of like, disclaimers and asterisks and footnotes, and I'm trying to think of the best way to answer it, because it just comes up so frequently. Do you need certifications for your career? And then there's another aspect of, okay, do you need a formal education? I would say no, you don't need it, keyword there, but it absolutely helps. And on Busra's point, hey, you're trying to grow yourself, you're trying to develop your own name in a way, sort of a brand, some recognition, and prove your competency. You can do that in a lot of different ways. It doesn't have to be certification or just having the degree and receipt from some university. You can do that with just putting out content, which sounds kind of weird, right? But hey, no, if you have a portfolio, if you have a library and catalog of, these are my blog posts, these are my articles, these are my videos that I've helped showcase, for some reason, people tend to go find that and use that as a resource just as well. And that is one great thing. Maybe it's networking with people. Maybe it's just, hey, you attend a ton of security conferences, you moderate in Discord, you help out at virtual events. Those are other great things that can bolster you in your career. You don't have to rely on certifications in education, but it's one way, and it totally helps. So
I think it comes down to networking a lot. Networking is a lot more powerful than certifications. I think in the group here, I'm probably the least certified in any ways. And then Nicole, you have a few with your position. That's even maybe not security related, but I have 0 certifications. I want to get them. I just don't have the patience like the two of you to study for them and go for the exam. I'm doing that. I just mentioned in the chat. I'm doing the SANS cloud hacking, the cloud pen testing course, but probably not going to take the exam or get the certification for it. Not because I don't want to be certified or I don't believe in them. It's just I think I've came to a point in my career where that's no longer needed, right? But it's exactly what you said, John. It's the creating content and putting myself out there, or learning things on my own. Like bug bounty, it's a big one. Busra, you've mentioned bug bounties a few times. You don't have to get certifications to become successful, because it's success in getting a job. Successful, no, but getting a job, yes. You have to show you're qualified, whether it's certifications, whether it's experience from a previous job, from school, or if you have done your own research or you have done your own work like bug bounty hunting, CVEs, and that kind of stuff. So it's do you need it? No, but is HR going to love it and push you through that that cube? More than likely, yeah. So I recommend it, but it just comes down to how your style of learning is. Just kind of add to that same thing as well. Speaking of certs, are there any certifications you're currently working on, or you have your eye on for the future? They're like, oh, that must be a really good one. I want to do that. Busra, let's kick it off with you.
Right, like I mentioned, I'm preparing for OSCE over a year, and I'm kind of ready, but like I mentioned, it's not an online exam, so I have to find the event that's actually provided there. So yeah, I'm just preparing for it in the background, and I'm hoping this is the last certificate because I have a career path for myself. I want to run my own company in the future, and the training will be a part of it. So I will probably give trainings on advanced Windows exploitation, kernel exploitation, maybe to governments, maybe to big enterprises. So that's the plan for future. That's why I'm trying to sharpen my skills on these areas. I'm hoping this is the last certificate, but infosec, maybe there will be a crazy certificate out there that will just like make me lose sleep. So maybe I will start another one. I don't know.
Best of luck to you. I know that's a really hard one, and you've been preparing for it for a while. So best of luck. John, what about you? I know you have a long list of them already. Is there anything you're going to add to your long list of certifications that
well, hey, I'm a proponent of lifelong learning and kind of continued growth, so I'm happy to keep charging it plenty more. Cannonball mentality, I guess. But I haven't got a chance to dance with some of those Pen Tester Academy ones, or things that focus heavily on Active Directory. I want to explore more of those, and there's another one, and I saw it mentioned in the chat briefly, CRTO, or Certified Red Team Operator. A lot of those sound very, very interesting, but I'm cognizant of the fact, well, like, hey, I've been going heavy in like, red teamy pen test, bug bounty stuff. I do want to pull myself out and move into more of like, hey, what does the cloud stuff really look like? Get smarter in fancy Kubernetes and fancy GCP and AWS. I really want to do that. I don't know where that is on the horizon, but hopefully soon this year or next.
So what do both of you do when you're studying for these exams? Do you have any strategies? Do you study with other people? Do you study solo? Busra, why don't you go first?
Sure. So I will give the example for OSCE. Because it has a 48 hours exam, and I prepared for it, I think, like 6 to 8 months. And during this period, I was waking up at 4 a.m. and I was working until 8 a.m. in the morning. I was going to work. I was doing consultancy job, hacking all day, getting domain admin at the end of the day, coming back home at 8 p.m. because I was living in Istanbul. I was like having crazy traffic. So after 8 p.m., I was studying again until 12. So like 8 hours a day certification. That's pretty intense. It's not a normal thing that you can do. But yeah, sometimes it requires if you want to like squeeze it into a specific time frame. But for instance, for OSCP, it was for like 6 months or something. And I studied every day, like 2 to 3 hours, which was more normal. For OSCE that I'm preparing right now, it's been over a year. I'm more crazy now because I'm spending a lot of time on it. But it's also related to the topic, I guess, because so far I was working on exploitation on user land, which is completely different than kernel land that I'm working on right now. So yeah, depends on the certification, depends on the exam, but I'm generally spending like average of 2 to 3 hours at least, let's say.
You are a warrior. All right. Those are crazy hours. You should be proud of that. That's very, that's a lot of work.
I have to.
What about you,
John, how
Joe?
about you? Yeah.
When it comes down to, I guess, like studying and like the real grit for cruising through a course, oftentimes if they come with videos to offer their lectures or their slides, I'll be a little bit of a machine and I'll try and just, hey, can I crank out or recreate basically the book? Like if it were to come with a textbook, I want to rewrite it in my own perspective and narrative while I'm going through the videos or the slides, because for one thing it forces me to kind of understand it and be able to regurgitate it well in a strange way. But that really helps me and forces me through each minute, each second of what the content and what the training actually is. When it comes to practice, which is absolutely necessary, especially in some of the more elite and crazy certifications like OSCE, OSED, and OSEE, as we've kind of been discussing, I'll try to find some other applications that can simulate that same sort of environment. Again, if we're using that one as an example, Vuln server has been a great thing, I think, in userland. I'm sure you're familiar with those. And HEVD, like what is the vulnerable driver, Busra? I don't know if you played with that one. Yeah.
That's correct.
Practice and taking a whole lot of notes.
Let's on the topic of studying and strategies, let's talk about the hard question. What happens if you don't pass? What happens if you don't get to score the points that you're required or own as many machines for OSCP, for example, and you fall below the requirements to pass? How do you recover from that? How do you deal with that? John, let's kick it off with you.
Oh, cool. Thank you for pitching that one, because I think there's a lot of good stuff to kind of talk about in that. And I've been thinking about this a lot because I have close friends that are, hey, hard charging through some material, some training, whether it's OSCP or the others, and they just miss the mark. This is my hot take, right? Here's me on my soapbox. I got to make a video on this or something, but like, gentle reminder, right? You don't have to be a penetration tester or a bug bounty hunter or a red teamer. There are so many other outlets in cybersecurity and in the whole industry. Hey, maybe you're more interested in the blue teaming incident response defense stuff, or maybe you just kind of want to be part of the leader or the watch floor that's doing the rapid response on a SOC, like a security operations center or a watch floor. You don't, if you are bummed out and kind of, hey, just really bogged down that you maybe didn't finish the exam the way that you wanted to, you can take it in stride. You can try it again, hit it one more time. Or maybe it's like, you know what? I really just gave this my all. I've learned a lot. I'm ready to go move on to the next thing. Totally a matter of your opinion, but you should never beat yourself up for it, because you take it as a new opportunity. Hey, now I see what I need to get stronger in, or now I know that I can do an even greater job with the other aspects of cybersecurity in the industry.
What about you, Busra?
Totally agree with you. Totally agree with John's points. But I would say if you are going for a certificate that is really expensive, like OSCE will be costing probably more than $5,000. So I don't even think about it. What would happen if I fail? So I think you need to make sure that you are completely ready, because this material is given to you. So obviously the exam will be similar to this one. So practice the resources that's been given to you, and do your own research about the others who got the same certificate, what kind of path they went through, and make sure that you're actually ready before you jump into the exam. Because especially for OSCP, you just started and you're seeing all these people that are getting their OSCPs out there, and you know that you're doing some stuff, but you're not sure if you're ready. So I know that a lot of people just jump into exam without actually feeling ready, and then they fail, and then they are questioning themselves, what did I do wrong? Am I not good enough for this? This frustration is pretty hard. I didn't go through this, but a lot of friends of mine did. So it's really important that you're feeling ready and you're talking to the others. You can just ask them like, okay, how did you feel ready? What kind of things did you do? What kind of preparations did you do to actually feel ready before you jump into exam? These are really important points, so that you wouldn't spend a lot of time, a lot of money, and you just fail and have frustration. But it happens. It's time. It's life. So.
I think the biggest key takeaway from what you both have said is, besides the technical aspect of being ready, is just the human nature of understanding like things happen and just reflecting, taking a few days and going back to it again. I think consistency is key in regardless of what you do in life. Just staying consistent. You failed, you go back at it again, and you try again and again. And as the slogan says, you try harder next time to get through to that. But those are both solid advice. I really appreciate it. I think we kind of talked about this. Our next question was mostly to ask you both about if you think it is required to have a certification for infosec jobs. I think some jobs may require it. I know a lot of the management jobs that you mentioned also, John, like they require a CSSP. I mean, that's one that, you know, as a CISP, they require it. I think that one kind of makes sense, even though it doesn't really. But I've seen some of the material in some of those courses. But what do you both think? Busra, let's kick it off with you. What do you think? Is it required? How does it affect, you know, the job hunting situation?
Sure, I think you can get a job without having any certifications. For instance, I got my first consultancy job. The salary was pretty low. It was a pretty junior position. I mean, it was not having many perks, but it was a job, and I didn't have any certifications because everybody's saying, okay, you need to have a certification, and this is a junior role. So how am I supposed to get a certification for a junior role if I'm just starting? It's like a very, very interesting question. So you can get a job, probably. It's not going to have a lot of perks of it, but you can still get it. And then from the junior role, you can try to develop your skills and earn a certificate and probably jump into another job. So I wouldn't say it's impossible. Of course, it depends on the geolocation as well, but it should be possible anywhere, even for a junior role, maybe.
I'd agree. It's funny exploring all those different kind of perspective and avenues of this because of, as we mentioned, hey, maybe some rules require it, maybe some jobs maybe need that manager position with CISSP or that Govy federal thing that needs specific level security plus yada yada yada. What I'm glad we're kind of driving towards is it does again really depend on that employer and the company, which is a bummer. It's an asterisk. It's another disclaimer, but if you are applying to a location that may be a bigger enterprise business company thing, maybe they are a little bit more of a stickler for, hey, have these stamps and pieces of paper, scratch and sniff stickers to say you're good at what you do. On the other end, maybe some of the cool high-flying startup-y folks that are like, just see the skills and the craft that you bring to the table, and they say, wow, hey, you're a rock star, you're a wizard. You don't need those like receipts or a certification or a degree that just tell you you're good. It's clear, it's evident to us, and we want to bring you in because of that. I think it varies for employer to job occasionally, but if you know, hey, the stuff that you're looking for, you really would like to work with people that are just understanding of what you bring to the table, then I would be a proponent of that. You, again, don't have to have the certification or the education to get your foot in the door. It helps, but you don't need it. Absolutely.
Now, what about for bug bounty hunting specifically? Do you feel the same way about the certifications being required? John?
Oh, so, and again, I'll admit, I'm happily going to fall on my sword. I am not a bug bounty hunter. HackerOne keeps wanting to hang out with me, and I don't do bug bounty.
Let's shift that question to web hacking. Let's do more on the focus on web hacking and on the offensive side of things. Mostly web. What do you think?
Yeah. Again, it's not necessary. It helps you get more structured curriculum-like training. Hey, you get content and education to you fed in a good way that you can better retain it, which is nice. It's a package deal. It's bundled up and for all you to learn. Yeah. When you're kind of scrambling and looking out and Googling and doing research and playing CTFs, maybe that's very, very haphazard and it's hard to retain and get all that information. Again, not necessary needing certifications to do that web hacking and bug bounty work, but it helps. So I would agree. Yeah.
I definitely agree with John. I started as a web pen tester at a consultancy. I didn't have any certifications. After I get my certification, I think my knowledge definitely increased. But yeah, it's not a prerequisite, definitely not.
Yeah, I think with web hacking specifically, there are so many online resources nowadays that are completely free. think about the website academy from Burp Suite, Hacker 101. So if you're watching this, shameless plug, go to hacker101.com. You do our CTFs, you get a invite to a private program that you can hack on and earn money. But besides those, there's plenty of other ones. YouTube itself, there's a lot of content creators nowadays that are very focused on web and bug bounty. Big one, Stoke is one of them. I highly recommend looking into them. There is this bug bounty vulns explained, I think is what the channel is called. They have taken apart some of the disclosed vulns and explained them. So there are a ton of different resources that are free that you don't have to pay, but it just comes down to that HR thing. But if you wanted to do bug bounty specifically, we don't require any sort of resume or any certification. I know other platforms, our competitors also don't do the same thing. It's the same thing. You don't have to have a certification, but it does help to have those certifications. It does help to learn a little bit on your own or go outside of what outside of your box and learning how others approach things and getting involved. Before we jump into the viewer questions, I know we've tried to address a lot of the questions as they come in, but if you have questions, no promises I will get to every single one of them. But if you have questions, please make it more specific about certifications and security certifications for this episodes, and we'll try to get to them as much as we can. Nicole, I'll let you fire them off.
So our first one's from Incognito Fox. They're asking, what's a decent cert for web application hacking? And although you don't necessarily need one to get into bug bounty, if someone wants one, what's a good one to get?
Start off with you, John.
So I have taken OSWE, which is the offensive security web attacks and exploitation ones for web application security. And I really, really like it. It focuses a little bit on PHP, some Node, right? Some other Express stuff, and even like ASP.NET. ASP.NET is what it was. I was trying to think of .NET assemblies, but I remembered it's like, hey, their ASP thing, they bring it to a web page. That may or may not be what you're going to be hacking on today in the modern age. Maybe you'll still see some of it, maybe not a ton. I have not taken the EWPT for eLearn security in the focus on web pen testing. And I know they have an extreme rendition of that just as well, which I think covers some good stuff. But truthfully, I am naive on that one. I would be an advocate, though, for OSWE. And I'd kick it over to you, Busra. Have you taken some of those eLearn security ones?
I didn't, but my close friends did, especially eVept Extreme.
Nice.
My bug bounty hunter friends are also like recommending it. I'm not a bug bounty hunter, and I didn't like focus any of these web certifications, to be honest, besides OSCP, which was not a web certificate at all. But I know the content of Portswigger as well. I'm not sure if they're providing a certificate at the end of it. I didn't look into it, but they're having really cool content as well on web hacking. So I would definitely recommend it.
So the next question, I also want to hear from everybody in the chat, because I think this would be a very cool one to just kind of learn about everyone's background, is what was your very first certification? Or if you're in the chat and you don't have one, what's the first one that you want to take? John, since you're not on mute, just kick it off with you.
Security Plus is what I had to get first, and then went for OSCP. So.
Busra, how about you?
CEH, Certified Ethical Hacker, and OSCP.
Wow, those are two different ones. Those are very two like opposite ends of the infosec. I won't touch the topic. I promise I wouldn't get too passionate about this, but those are very two different ones.
I know. My boss forced me to get CEH, so.
I see in the chat we have CEH, PNPT. I see people saying EJPT. Speaking of PNPT, how hard is that? Have you both done that on a scale of 1 to super difficult? How hard is it?
So I have taken PNPT, which is like the hey cool hot new kid on the street, right?
Big shout out to the Cyber Mentor.
Yeah, I've seen folks kind of rank it or rate it in a scale of difficulty as a 6 out of 10, which is both good and bad. I guess, I don't know. I haven't put out like a review of this, but it's something that I really like to do along with all the others that I've tried to take. I think PNPT focuses on security and weaknesses in security, right? In a different way than what OSCP and the like tend to do, because it's taking advantage of the fact that human beings, real people, make stupid decisions. We accidentally, hey, have a weak password or reuse it in different places, or we save secrets and things that shouldn't be accessible in like our email folder, right? It's more taking advantage of the realistic, silly, naive human vulnerability that can be exploited throughout an enterprise. That's very, very different from, hey, you grab some CVE back in 2017 and you throw it at a web server and now you have a shell. It's a different ball game, but it's good. And that's, I think, why people say, hey, this is a realistic cert. And there is a good element of truth to that, although I think there is one aspect that gets a little CTF-y, although I know that's a hot topic. It's some other spice.
Yeah, I've seen what Heath has done. I think he's going more approach of these are the things I have seen in my career as a pen tester that are interesting to exploit, versus also knowing the technical aspects about looking for some of these CVEs and looking for these known vulns or techniques as well.
All right, so we've got another one from Infinite Logins. Are there any infosec security certifications that focus on soft skills? Busra, you want to take a stab at that one?
Right. I would say OSCP again. The answer, I don't think they will like this answer for soft skills, but yeah. In infosec, there are so many areas that you can learn. You're learning web, then you're realizing there's API, there's mobile, there's network testing, there's like exploitation people are talking about. There's so many areas. There's cloud security. There are infinite amount of areas that you can get into. And when you start learning something, you're realizing how less you know, because there's so many things that you need to learn in order to get into expert level, which doesn't mean that you know everything. There are like new technologies coming every day. There are new vulnerabilities coming every day. So it's like an infinite journey. That's the magic about infosec, basically. You learn and you want to learn more, and you're realizing there's so many things to learn still. So if you want to start with soft skills, I will be a bit challenging, and I will say OSCP, because OSCP gives the general mindset about how to get into infosec, basically. Because there are too many things to learn, and with OSCP, you're realizing you're just learning a bit of everything, and then you can find your own way out. I know that this is not the answer that you want to hear. It's not soft skills, but I would definitely say go for OSCP. Challenge yourself, try to learn everything just a bit, and then decide where you want to go. So yeah, my answer would be like that.
What about you, John?
Oh, I think it's a super good question, because it pierces a problem that I don't think we talk about in security, right? I'm going to interpret you saying soft skills as in sort of like a public presence and charisma and talking with leadership and talking to management about security problems. I think that's what you're getting at. So forgive me if I'm misinterpreting that, but I don't think there is one, to be honest. I don't think there is anything that tries to see, hey, how well can you talk or present about this thing? PNPT, I know we've been discussing a little bit. At the very, very, very end, you will present your report and your findings, and no other cert has done that, which is kind of a very cool thing. But that's not strictly the whole exam, right? You still have to go through the technical nitty-gritty portion to get to it. With that said, that's awesome, because at least you are being held to that standard. Hi, how do I get up on stage in front of a podium and try to address important people what I just broke into? You know what I mean? So that's cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say PNPT, if I can get it right, is one of the ones that I've seen specifically talk about report writing and presenting that kind of stuff, and being able to talk to executives and people that are not super technical. But I haven't seen anybody really focus on soft skills. So if you're watching this, you're in the certification game, maybe a soft skills 101 should be something to invest some time and efforts into. Other than that, I think we try to address a lot of the questions. I know some of the questions around CH that are being asked. We will put that for another episode. We'll address that at a later time. I think that would be its own episode and its own topic. But before we let you go, Busra, John, thank you both so much for joining. Is there anything you want to add Any word of advice, anything you wanted to add or reference to before we let you both go?
How much time do we have? I had
You
one
have as
last
much
tidbit I
time
wanted
as
to
you
pay.
like, my friend.
Cool.
Go
I
for it.
saw one thing fly by in the chat, and I thought it was really, really worthwhile and interesting to kind of pick up on. And it was a question on justifying your effort in studying and working through certifications when an employer or like a job interview maybe just doesn't see it. They don't see the magic. They don't see all the hard work. How can they hire you, who might be that person fresh out of college, as opposed to this other individual they're screening for that has 15 years of experience, or 10 or whatever. I really, really like this question. I think it's worthwhile if I can touch on it just a second.
Yeah, of course.
The way that I suggest approaching that is first kind of measure and verify, hey, is this a comfortable job interview where I can realistically go out on this limb? But you can make the perspective that, hey, this person that you might be trying to say, oh, has 5 years experience or 10 years experience. Keep in mind that that might be just a regular Joe Schmo who kind of sits at his desk and waits for the clock to run out so he can check out and go home, and then he'll go play video games or go to sleep throughout the whole weekend, right? While you, on the other hand, are loving this thing, you're passionate about it. When you go home, you spend your nights cracking open Hack the Box or Try Hack Me or HackerOne CTF or doing all this bug bounty stuff, and your years of experience is so much more multiplied than someone who's just sitting, maybe a 9 to 5 sitting at the desk. Maybe they skip out, they take a 2-hour lunch. Maybe they're only putting in like 5 hours of work a day. Realistically, you're putting in 14, 16, 18 hours a day. I don't even know. Your years of experience can be vastly multiplied because you're putting in more work on the off hours that maybe some people don't. So I often try to offer that as input. Like, sure, maybe you're just a college student or just getting into the industry, but you've been working hard on this for 4 years that could multiply out to 20.
Yeah.
I don't know. My insight. I don't know if anyone agrees with that.
I'm going to wait for Busra to add if anything she wants to add onto this, and then I'll say my piece to it.
Awesome. Totally agree with you, John. Great points. I would say if you're interested in hacking, if you're interested in infosec, first rule, don't give up. You need to always push. Maybe you need to push with certificates. Maybe you need to push with bug bounty. But there will be always more learning. There will be always more challenging. I think certification is a great way to do that because you're recognized in the industry, you're learning a ton, and you're learning a lot of things in the community as well, just not only the technical knowledge. So I would definitely say go for a certification, start somewhere. It can be Security Plus, it can be CH, it can be something for soft skills, not maybe OSCP, but yeah, or maybe for OSCP. Go for something, go and start learning somewhere. And I'm sure that you will find your own way out and maybe continue with different certifications, maybe in a different career path, maybe with bug bounty, but start somewhere.
Yeah, I think I agree with both of you. I think, John, just to touch on what you just said, the off hours and the self-learning, I think goes a long way versus people that are just in a 9 to 5. I think just putting in the extra hours of learning things because you're passionate, using that passion to get to where you want to be is a lot easier than just doing the certificates or doing a job because you have to. I think the passion drives a lot of, makes it a lot more sweeter and a lot better. And I think once you get there, I don't think you would ever really get there, but once you get to a point that, you got your foot into the door, all those long nights, I think you all could agree it pays off eventually where you get that job you wanted to, or you get closer to your dream job or whatever it is, it does. And I don't think anyone who's successful will tell you that they just worked, 5 hours a day and didn't put in extra effort, no matter what job they're doing, no matter if it's infosec with computers or in tech. I think no matter what you do, putting those extra hours is what goes a long way. So I love that both of you kind of talked about that as well. Other than that, I think that was a really good way to end this. But again, I want to say thank you so much to both of you for being here. Busra, I know it's pretty late for you. You're already off work and also your evening. So thank you so much for giving us some of your evening. And John, I know you're on lunchtime right now. So thanks for giving up your lunch and spending it with us instead.
Hey, this was a ton of fun, everyone. I hope there were some good sound bites and some words of wisdom there. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me as well. That was amazing.
Thanks again, guys. We'll talk soon. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, Nicole, we have one announcement left. I'll let you kick us off before we wrap this up for our Mentorship Monday. Go for it.
So our next episode next week, our guest speakers are ZLZ and Rhinerator, so you do not want to miss it.
And the topic is going to be on how to pick a target and how to approach it. But also, this is going to be our last episode for this season. So it's the last one. We will do some giveaways. We'll
Lots of
also
giveaways.
have some cool guests. So come hang out with us. And we look forward to seeing everybody next Monday.
Yep. Same place, same time.
See you all.